And welcome back to the table, everyone. We are going to be hopping into the second turn of this particular scenario. This is Fighting Formation's Grossdeutschland Division. This is part of the battle for Kharkov. And we're doing scenario... It's been a couple days since I was able to play it. So we're doing scenario 19, a change of orders on map 9. Now, when we left off, I think things started to go downhill for the German player. The Soviets seem to be doing just fine. I did want to check one thing on the special rules. Whenever the time marker advances, if any Stug 3s remain in play, the German player must roll a 6-sided die. Yeah, our Stug already got destroyed, I think is what happened to it. There was a roll that you had to check to see on a 1 through 3, permanently remove all the Stugs, so because they were being called away to another battle. Fortunately, for the German player, he doesn't have to make that roll anymore because that Stug was destroyed. So, yay for that. All right. Now, where we left off, though, was we are 3 initiative points into the Soviet player's side, and that's where we'll start. So, first thing we're going to do is seed the order. So, we're going to roll a die 10. 10. Fantastic. So, the Soviet player, whatever he decides to do, or she, is going to cost 10 initiative points. That's a huge swing. In a face-to-face game, if that was the very last order cube, I mean that's a significant shift of initiative towards the German player. But what are we going to do? I mean, looking here, things were looking kind of grim. We got a couple infantry platoons. There's a submachine gun platoon, another rifle platoon coming up here. On this hex, what we have defending it is dug in. We have a platoon of grenadiers and 2 MG34 units, elements that are spread out. Then we have a grenadier platoon here. There is a couple rifle squads stuck in this tree area here. Off camera, I got 2 SU-180 or 2 SU-85s, another rifle platoon, machine gun platoon, and then we had a heavy machine gun platoon moving up. So there's actually quite a bit of firepower left for the Soviet player that's pushing forward. The Germans, on the other hand, they do have some units that are dug in, but this left flank of theirs is probably the most vulnerable right now. Really hard to say. It kind of depends on how the infantry battles play out. That's a shaken unit, so it's a platoon. So we got like a lot of platoons coming in here. Even though this one's pinned, it can still fire, and they can still fire and move. But if they take another hit, they'll suffer some casualties. The German player did a rally. One thing I should have done is with this Panzer IV, and I will probably do that on the next German activation, is if we had attempted a rally roll on that, I don't think I could have scored a 16 on 2 die 10, so that would have caused significant casualties. So what I'll probably do is bust them down into 3 individual vehicles, so they'll deploy. That means one of them will be the unconfirmed kill, but then I'll have 2 Panzer IVs ready to go. As it stands right now, this Panzer IV platoon can't do anything because the platoon is in disarray dealing with the unconfirmed kill. So they're kind of out of it. So that's one cool reason why you can deploy. So here, this unit suffered a casualty. I tried to rally it. I don't remember now. I'd have to go back to the video. But I think I tried to rally them and it failed, and so that damage transfer down. Or this was a second damage hit. I don't remember exactly, but they're kind of hurting. But they still got a fully functional T-34 and 2 SU-85s, which are good. Again, you can't see the SU-85. I'd have to shift camera, but we'll just leave it alone. So that's kind of where we're at. So it is going to start with the Soviets, and they've got the 10. And I was trying to think what they want to do. A fire order would not be out of the question because we definitely want to take advantage of the Panzer IV situation here, because if we hit them again, because they've got a damage marker, that's going to destroy a vehicle, and then that unconfirmed kill will transfer down to one of the squads. So that would really put a damper in them. It's just the T-34 by itself isn't the strongest element on the board. Or, let me check here. Is the SU-85 a clear line of sight? No, it cuts through. What I might do is shift. I could do a move and shift over. And the idea is to bring the Su-85. Now the Su-85 is actually a lot more powerful than a T-34. Yeah, so we could just do a move order. So that's probably what I'll do. So we're going to set these Su-85s up to move. Now the thing is, this Su-85, all of these Soviets are out of command range except for this guy right here. Oh, you can't see the camera. Now I'll move the camera. What I can do is actually take the Su-85, move, and it will be in line of sight to shoot at the Panzer IVs, and it has a much better firepower. Yeah, and this would be, I would say, I'm trying to think. Yeah. It's fine. It's going way past the crest line of that hill, so it's fine. But the problem is I've only got a command range of 2 for the Soviets. So he'd be out of command range, he'd be out of command range. And I don't have any more Soviet command markers to drop. So they can move, but it would cost 2 activations for anybody else that I need to move. So that's going to really swing initiative towards the German player's side. So we're going to go ahead and activate this. Now the thing is, first of all, you have to decide what you're activating for. So let's go take a look at the board just to remind you. Oh shoot, I had the stupid power cord just fell out and I just ruined half the board. Here we go, we'll fix it. The power cable doesn't stick into this camera very good. Sometimes I tape it up, but sometimes it's a mess. Alright, so let's be gentle. Alright, so right now we've got the 10, and if we do just a move, normally that's a 2, right? But I'd have to spend the 10 initiative points, and then every unit I activate that's out of command range of that marker is 2 additional initiative. I mean, that's going to give the German player a lot of initiative. So we're going to activate pretty much just that one vehicle. So first of all, it's 10 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And because that command marker is on the tactical side, it's going to cost that Su-85 1 initiative to activate. So I'm going to flip it. And that's the thing is, I mean, any marker that I flip now, they could be clear across the other side of the board, but anything that I flip to do in action now is going to cost 2 initiative points if I want to maneuver it into position because they are clearly far outside. So this is where I was talking about how you start to see units that are fresh and they're active and they're doing stuff, and then they start to tire. And so now the troops are not feeling the, you know, they're kind of tired, they're not as motivated to go do things. It would cost a lot of initiative points towards the German side. So the game kind of has this built-in ebb and flow of battle. And you can manage that by not placing all of your command markers right away like we did in the first turn. So anyway, little interesting, I think, tidbits. I don't know how you want to put it, but the little interesting. I'm trying to think how to word it. Anyway, it's not important, right? If I can think of the words I want to use, words are hard. Okay, but where are we? So that's what we've done. Is we've gone ahead and activated for the move. And we just did the 1 vehicle at 1 initiative point. So we'll come back to the board and I'll show you what I was thinking, which was essentially just to kind of rotate him in place a little bit and move. And that, see if you can see the Panzer IV. Yeah, just a little bit off now. But that puts me in a clear line of sight to the Panzer IVs, past the tree, barely past the trees, but it's there. Now, what does that mean? Well, not a whole lot, because the German player currently cannot fire or move, so he can't return fire. Oh, I'm just knocking all kinds of stuff over today. Today is not my day. Okay, so I grab this here. Now I do have an anti-tank gun. That might be something. We can opportunity fire with that. Now, that is, I'm looking for an ops marker. I've got an ops marker here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that is out of range of this anti-tank gun. So that'd be 2 initiative points. So I'm going to spin the 2. 1, 2. So the German player is going to pay to fire that weapon system. Now I can have anything fire, but right now that's the only thing I got that can shoot at that realistically. So the gun itself has a 12 firepower, and its range is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's just in range, so there's no penalties to the dice for range. It's in the front firing arc because it has a fixed firing arc with the little triangle firing arc symbol. Doesn't have to rotate to fire anything. So it's going to roll 2 die 10, and its firepower is 12. Oh, that's good. I was also going to say there was no hindrance terrain, but if I rolled a 1, it would have been a miss, just the base 1. But instead we have 16 plus 12. 16 plus 12, was that 28? That's not too bad. 28. Now the SU-85 has, and it's on the front, so it has very good armor apparently. Wow, I didn't realize its armor value was so high. It's 26 on the front and 17 on the flanks. It doesn't matter what this guy rolls. He just bounced that shot. Bounce. Because he needed to beat a 28. So if I rolled 2 1s, I still would have made my save. If you want to call it a save. Okay, so good shooting, guys. You just didn't penetrate the armor. All right, well, that's unfortunate for the German player. Now, I don't have to flip this or mark this in any capacity because it rolled higher than the 2, which is its rate of fire number. So technically, if this vehicle moved again, then I could take another shot. But it's not going to. But if it did, I think then the trees would then be in the way. So yeah, he took his 1 shot when he could. He did what he could, and the Soviets laughed it off. Ha ha ha! You're shooting bratwurst at us, my friend. Okay, let's take a drink here. Today we're drinking some kind of really harsh apple powder mix that you drop into a bottle of water. Holy cow! Ooh, that is tart. Okay, all right. So now they're done. They moved. That's all he needed to move. His range is 8. Well, hold on. He might move again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, he's going to move up a couple spaces because range. He could go. So 1, 2, 3, and you get a free rotate 4. He's got 15 movement points. This guy is cruising across the field. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, this will put him in range. And even this SDK, it doesn't have any anti-armor firepower, so he can't shoot anyhow at it. Oh, this thing is like an armored behemoth. That is scary, shocking for the German player. And there it is. Okay, so now we're back to the German player. Right now, he had due to card play earlier by the Soviet player, he flipped one of the German command points, which was down here to the one side, and then when that turn ended, that went back to the pending command box. So there's no command over here. So it really depends. I guess maybe activations will be over here. But one thing I want to do, because you can do this at the start of your activation, is you can... Oh, hold on. I forgot. This is not a platoon. This is an individual tank. Right here, you might not be able to see it, but there's one singular black dot next to the name. I keep thinking this is a platoon. No, this guy is just toast. He's not doing anything. Crazy. Well, first of all, So I can't deploy him out into multiple vehicles to try and save him from that damage. That tank's pretty much out. We pretty much have no anti-tank capability over here except for that 5cm PaK 38, and it just bounced off the Su-85. So let's see what the Germans are going to do. They're going to roll for their order matrix cube seating thing. An 8. That's expensive too. So whatever they choose to do is going to swing the pendulum back 8 points. So that would give them the drawn asset. They could do an assault. They could do advanced sniper, rally, fire. I think they'll do the fire. So normally that's a 3 cube. Oh, for the Germans, normally that's a 2. So that's huge. So we're going to swing the 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that automatically puts it into the Soviet players because the way that thing moves back and forth, especially when you're getting high rolls. Then we have to figure out who's going to fire. All of this. But that's 3 more initiative. 1, 2, 3. Because that's an initiative point for you. That's an initiative point for you. That's an initiative point for you. Because the command marker here is on the tactical side, so that's 1 initiative for everything that's going to act. So we're going to shift the camera now and kind of zoom in on the action. Ah, beautiful. Now you can see all the chaos that is going on over here. What we want to do is try and break these platoons up a little bit more. So one of the things that I could have done, because my focus as the Soviet general was on this Su-85 and trying to do something against the Panzer IV over here. What I needed to have done was put some focus over here on the infantry combat, and I could have broken these platoons down into individual squads, because what's going to happen now is if they take damage, they're going to break, and then that damage marker is going to carry through to one of those units. So that could be very, very bad potentially for the Soviet player. Luckily, he's got a lot more infantry coming up. Okay, so what we'll do is have the MG-34 fire here. I think they did that once before, and the return fire, yeah, there's going to be a lot of shooting going back and forth over here. So what we have is not a very good number. Yeah, when these folks are in their squad, their firepower drops significantly. Okay, so the MG-34 has a firepower of 9. We up the dice to the die 12 because the target is adjacent. However, it is in the rough terrain, which is just an ever so slight amount of cover. And I'm trying to find my chart that's got the cover. Here it is. Rough ground only gives 1. It's a hindrance of 2, but a cover of 1. So that'll be on the defense roll. I was checking the hindrance. So the hindrance is 2. So if I roll a 2, the shot will be lost in that terrain that they're in. Don't roll a 2. Okay, and that 2 is part of a 12, so it doesn't count. So that right there is 20. So that puts him at a 29. Normally I'd say that's a really good shot. However, yeah, it'd be pretty good because their defense is only 13. Okay, so cool. 13 plus 1. So they're starting at a 14 because of the rough terrain. So now we got to roll, I think we got to get 15 or more on this. Oh, that's exactly what they needed. So, okay, that shot went well. But here's the thing. They can return fire. I could have any one unit return fire. The thing is, though, I might have forgot to do this last time. I don't remember. But they're not in command range currently of any command marker. So that's going to be a cost of initiative points. But they're going to spend it. That's 2 initiative points because that's going to allow this platoon to fire into that hex. And it's exchanging gunfire. I love that concept. So it's not just one unit firing all the time. There's the potential that you can have an exchange of gunfire among your units on the board. And I think that's a clever mechanic. Don't see that in a whole lot of games, but It's nice to see it here. Okay, so they have a 13, and they go up to 12 because they're adjacent. Yeah, that's about it. So it's an 11 and 13, so that's 24. That was not as special. Okay, so with that in mind, we do have 3 for the cover. So they're starting at 12, and we need 12 or higher. 7 and 12 is 19. So that's a hit on... Oh no, I was looking at the wrong number, 9. It's 12. I was looking at their attack score as their starting defense. This 11 is their starting defense. So it's 14 plus 7 is 21, but that still doesn't cut it. So they get hit. So I'm going to go ahead and flip them because they were active. They're not active now. And they draw the unlucky 10. They are suppressed. No firing. So an exchange of gunfire. Very violent over here. Also, I did forget to check this. I think they rolled, well, they rolled a 15. The 8 and, or the 9 and the, what was it, 8 and 7, both those numbers were higher than the Soviet rate of fire, so he doesn't get marked as used. He could technically fire back into that hex if one of these other units fires out, which they're about to do. Because remember, you can have any unit return fire as long as they're not marked spent, which I think, again, is also very cool. So this game is not a matter of just, you know, once they've done something, they're completely done. They get to do stuff until they fail rate of fire. Then they're spent. Then they're trying to reload, and they're kind of having to watch people. So no more do you have to like sacrifice one squad to move it forward to trigger opportunity fire, then move the rest of your platoon up without any kind of consequence. Now you got to be careful because you could potentially keep getting shot at over and over. You know, there are the gamey elements though, like if you fail the rate of fire you get spent, but you never know if that's going to happen or not. So I like that. So again, that puts me in a situation where, well, if I fire, am I going to do more harm to myself? But we're going to take this MG34 unit and they're going to shoot there too. So all of those MG34s are trying to hurt them a little bit more. So they're going to, because they're adjacent, they go up to 12s. Okay, that's 6. That's higher than the hindrance, but 9 and 6 is only a 15. That's actually really, really bad as far as an attack value goes, because we have a starting defense of 12. So unless I roll, I mean, if I roll 1s, I needed to roll 2 1s to make this fail, but that's a 9 plus 11 is 20. So they shrug that off as well. And again, the Soviets are going to fire back. Again, it's adjacent, so they go up 1 number. And let me see what the hindrance is of buildings. Let's see if the entrenchment has. Yeah, I don't see a value of that. Buildings have their, yeah, nope, they don't provide a hindrance. Okay, well, lucky. So basically, their attack roll is 15 plus 11. That's 26. Okay, well, you know, that's reasonable. That could... Oh, what I forgot to do, I forgot to check all of the squads. It's not just that one squad. The whole hex is affected. So I should have checked when they fired. I should have also checked for them, and I should have checked against them as well. I'm going to do that now because I forgot to do that with the previous fire. Because again, when you're attacking the hex, and everything in there possibly can get shot. Bullets are scary things. Okay, so right now there's an attack value of 26 coming into the hex. So we'll start the defense check with those guys. They're already dug back in because they finished their activation. We got what? I need a 26, so I need like a 14, an 11, and 12 is 23. So they're actually dead because that's their second hit. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, and then this MG34, the ones that triggered it, yeah, that's why just poor rolling, you know, just like any dice-based game, poor rolling can really hurt you. But now they got 11. Oh, I forgot to add the 3 for cover. I think they'd still be dead. Yeah, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt because I'm not focused. I'm trying to talk and I'm losing focus on the game because I'm trying to give some commentary, but Eddie should know better. Don't forget the cover. So they're at 11 and 3. They're at 14 already. 14 and 11 is 25. Okay, that is less than the 26. Yeah, so that's why I think the other group failed. We're just rolling horribly. Yeah, the Soviets are bringing the firepower, and the Germans are just withering away under it. This is not playing out historically. All right, so we have here a pinned. So they're pinned. And then the Grenadier, they had the 3, so they're already at 15. So I need to get 11 or higher. 7 and 15. Not enough. Okay, because that's like 22, and I need a 26. So that whole platoon just took a hit, and it's oh, they're fine. They're shaken. We might be able to rally those off. Those are actually reasonable rally results there. Okay, that's the return fire. And again, he rolled, I think, yeah, he rolled over his 3, his rate of fire. So he technically could shoot again. And being adjacent, that's like smart because he's really whittling these guys down. Well, now what I could do is with this platoon, they have a much higher firepower, so they're going to try and shoot out. So they're going to go ahead and shoot adjacent and try to take that platoon down because these 2 squads by themselves just weren't cutting it. So they're going to be rolling the 12s, and then they're going to add 15 to that score. 15 and 11 is 26. And so far we've seen that that doesn't really matter a whole lot. Okay, so the Soviet player is in there that gave 1 cover. Yep, 1 cover. And hindrance, if you're shooting through it, I don't know if you count the hindrance shooting into it. That's a good question. We'll look that up later. So as long as I don't roll a 1 or a 2, we're good. Basically, yeah, that's on the attack. So let's just see what we roll. A 1. So either way, that German shot was technically a miss because a 1 is the default hindrance of terrain. So I think that's if you're shooting through it, not shooting into it. Let me check. I don't think you check the hindrance when you're shooting into. Let me double check. I think it's just when you're shooting through. Perfect. Yeah, the little glossary at the front of the book, I just consulted it. There's a little hindrance. It says the hindrance value for shots going through it, never into or out of it. So, yeah, I don't know why that came up just now. I don't think I played it that way last turn. It's just if you're going through it, you worry about hindrance. So, but still, that would make that a 4. I rolled a 3 and a 1. Gosh, yeah. Or did I? What did I roll? I think I got caught up in the idea that that might have been a hindrance. I think there was a 1 there, but yeah, I don't remember. Gosh, I don't know why I cannot remember that. And I don't have this where I can edit it and go back and check the dice score. I got stuck on the brain about hindrance shooting into the cover that I totally flipped out on what the total was. But I've got them at a 26. So we're going to roll defense here. Maybe that's what I was rolling and he rolled horribly. So we're going to take defense of 11 plus 1 for that is starting at a 12. 9 and 12 is 21. That is less than the firepower roll. So they are going to take casualty. And I actually have some rifles right here. So they finally did break that down. And that was actually still a platoon. But we're going to go ahead and put a squad. And a squad. They actually held up a lot longer than I thought they would. they make some tough soldiers there. The Soviets make tough soldiers. So he'll go. The 1 is eliminated. The damage carries down. And we got that. Boom. And he's done. Do they want to return fire? The firepower dropped quite a bit, so I don't think he could do much. Let's see. If he returned fire... 18. Yeah, let's return fire. So he was still activated when the return fire occurred, so he's not done yet. So let's do it. 18 plus 8 is 26. And then the defense for both of them is 12 plus 3. So let's start with him. So it's already a 15. He rolled a 14. Yay. Okay, so nothing happens to our platoon. Then this MG34, they're starting at a 15 as well. 5, a 17, so they're dead. So he rolled really, really good on his adjacent shooting there. Yeah, because he was 8 and he rolled 18 on the dice. That's 26. So yeah, I'm not good with math, but that does sound right. Yeah, things are going bad. We'll probably call this pretty soon. See, the only thing is whenever I play games solo, it really doesn't matter what game I play. It usually goes horribly bad for one side because I make what I think at the time are good decisions, and then it just turns out that they were not good decisions. And unfortunately, that is what's happening here to the German player. I have made some very, very poor decisions. Sorry. Okay, well, that is the end of the German activation. All the units I had activated to fire have fired. So it would come back to the Soviet side of things. And their next activation is 7. All of these activations have been very expensive. So I'm going to put the cube on the 7 as I reach across the table. So we can fire, advance, change the sniper. I'm right now currently on the 3. So no matter what I do, it's going to shift 7 and go back to the German player. So yeah, when you have really high activation rolls in your order matrix, there's only high things left to choose. You get a lot of swing on that back and forth initiative track. However, if you make a lot of low rolls and you have items that cost just a little bit of initiative, there's a chance that you could do several activations in a row. And that's what we're going to look at here real quick. See, so for instance, with my solo reverse seating the cube, the order matrix, these cubes are causing a big shift between the Soviet player and the German player. So they're getting like one action, they're getting one action. But if I have this swung over here to the high side on, say, the German side, and then I start rolling 2s and 3s, you could get several actions in a row. And that's where when you play a face-to-face player and you have your order cube seated with a lot of low-cost orders, for instance, because again, you randomly see this in most scenarios. You might have it, top heavy here on the bottom with only a few actions up here. And what a lot of people tend to do is use up all of these low orders first. That way, as you get near the end of the turn, all that's left are these huge swings. So in the beginning of a turn, you might have a couple activations in a row, but as time goes back on, it turns into a more traditional, I do one action, you do an action kind of a thing. So it's a very interesting game concept all the way around. And we're at a point now where whatever the Soviet player does is going to swing this pawn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, over to the German side, plus whatever the initiative cost is going to be. And I could activate that Su-85 to fire. It's out of command range. So one thing, as I'm looking here, again, case of me just making bad decisions and not gaming the game, is I should have moved up one more hex, which I said wasn't necessary because that put me in range. Well, yeah, I'm in range of the Panzer IV, but here's what I forgot to do. I forgot my command radius is only 2 for his command. So he's technically out of command. So I want this Su-85 to shoot, and he will. I'm going to activate him to shoot, but that's going to cost 2 initiative points. Whereas if I had moved him just 1 hex forward, I would have been in command range of his officer, and that would have made it only a cost of 1. So now I've got to pay 2 additional initiative to activate him. See, so now I'm on the +6 side of the German tracker for initiative. So if I roll low on the next couple of dice rolls to, seed that order matrix, the German player could get a couple turns in a row. Just all depends on the rolling. All right, but I've got him activated. And now let's just zoom him out. So he's going to take a shot on that lonely Panzer IV. He's probably not going to survive. And if we lose that, then we've lost all armor support, and we'd have to rely on assaults. But the infantry, I think, are going to do a fantastic job. I've got the camera over here. Yeah, you can't see where my hand is, but I'll show you here after we do this shot. So again, I think we're at 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have a range of 8. So they're starting with 20 on their firepower. And they're adding, what was that, 13, 12. They're adding 12. So they're at a 33. No, they're adding 12. 12 and 20 is 32. God, 32 is huge. I'm just sitting here going, man, I didn't realize some of that stuff was so deadly. But they are. Okay, well, and I've only got a 17 defense. And they're in the open. I don't think they're going to make it. It was an unconfirmed kill anyway. They couldn't fire, they couldn't move. And so this is going to be that extra shot that tankers put into derelict tanks that they're not sure about. So we're going to add 17 and add to that 6. So what is that, 23? That fails that shot, that defense roll by a mile. So this is no longer a unconfirmed kill. It is now a confirmed kill. And I'm going to put that back into the bag of hits. And that's his action. So he said that was well worth the initiative. Who cares if it's on the German side of the tracker? Whew. Okay, so what I have left over here is a platoon. And we're still on the defense. And we're definitely on the defensive now. There's not a whole lot I can do. See, I could activate him again to fire and conduct combat, but he's all alone. I've got 1 platoon here, 1 squad or section of MG42 here, 1, not even a platoon, but 1 SDK which has no anti-tank capability. He could fire into this tree line and try to take them out, but very poor firepower. And 1 platoon here, and a very low-rated anti-tank weapon. He might be able to take out a T-34, which that's probably what we'll do. Let's go ahead and shoot with him and try to take this out. Now, first of all, we got to roll our die 10, though, to see what the order cost is for the German player. A 1. Okay, so this is bad. So the German player says, oh, okay, I got this. We're going to do something. But that puts it on the 1 for using an asset. Okay, reaction doesn't cost anything. You just do that. But he does have the order. Conduct an artillery barrage or smoke barrage. Add 6 to the accuracy roll if you give up the fate card. Add 12 instead. Let's do an artillery. Let's try it. Let me reread the artillery real quick, so I can get that somewhat right. And that's what we'll do. Since I only rolled a 1. So first of all, I'm going to move the tracker. That still leaves it on the 5 side of the German player. But he'll get to drop an artillery. Now normally you have to have like line of sight and things like that. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of dropping a barrage. And we'll drop the barrage wherever looks legitimate. So I'll be back on that. Fantastic. This is a lot easier than I thought it would be. And the instructions to do it are actually on the barrage table that you need. So we'll go through that. So first thing it says is select a target to, or like hex to be the intended target of the attack. Now it does say that the chosen hex must be within line of sight of a friendly command marker. Okay, so that's the first thing to do. Yeah, I was looking here. Yep, that command, it's off table, so I'll just shift a little bit. I got two command markers here. This command marker, no line of sight. That command marker, fortunately, line of sight. No blocking terrain. Hindrance doesn't stop it. So that command marker can see the Su-85. And we say, bring the thunder. Now, I'm going to put the spotting round there. Now, it says add 6 to the accuracy roll, which is very important because you want your rounds to land. Now, it says if you give up the fate card, add 12. I'm going to surrender. Oh, no, the fate card is already on the Soviet player's side. So I'm only going to be able to add 6 to the accuracy roll. So I'm going to put that on the discard pile here for the German player. Now, what you do is you roll a die 20, and we're going to compare that to a chart, which is going to be the accuracy chart. So remember, I get to add 6 to this roll. 2. Okay, it wasn't accurate. But that gives us an 8 total. So what you do here is you look at this nice little spiral diagram, and you find what you rolled. I rolled an 8. So what I'm going to do is this direction here, 2 hexes. So I'm going to go like this, 1, 2. Then it attacks this hex and everything around. And does nothing. Done. Now, if I had been more accurate and landed, what I would then do is cross-reference on this handy-dandy artillery chart the type of artillery, which was a mortar battery, and compare that along the top here. It has all the different target types. So right here is Su-85. And I would cross-reference with mortar battery, which is a 27. That's the attack number I need to hit. I would then roll 2 die 20 and try to get 27 or higher. So let's say it was accurate. I would just roll. 23 wouldn't have affected it. So that's it. Artillery, a lot easier than I remembered. It's that simple. All right, cool. Doesn't need to be complicated to be effective, but in this case, we were pretty inaccurate. Now, side note, that's a conversation I had with a friend, is the accuracy of artillery and mortars and things like that. We have a hard time sometimes believing that artillery and mortars were that inaccurate that often, that if they were that inaccurate that often, why would they keep using it? Like we tend to I think that artillery and mortar fire was probably a little more accurate than what's portrayed in a lot of games. But, you know, I could be wrong, but it just feels like artillery misses a lot. It's like, really? They're not that far away. They can see it, and they can call it in. And then there's no rules in there for improving over time your shot. So basically, it just feels like they dropped a mortar round, and it just comes shooting out and just lands any old place. It's like, wow, if it's that deadly towards yourself as much as the opponent, why would they continue to use it? So there's an example of superly wild mortar battery support in that case. Okay, anyway, enough of a side rant. It's still on the German player's turn for initiative, by the way. So they're going to place their next initiative cube on the 10. Why wouldn't they? Okay, so that means whatever I decide to do next is going to cost them 10 initiative and make a huge wild swing towards the Soviet player. So let's go ahead and move that now. So I'm moving it right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's now on the 5 initiative point side for the Soviet player. So the Germans, they're going to shoot. This is something I had thought about earlier. They're going to go ahead and do it now. They're going to shoot the pack into this group of T-34s over here. Get them all on there for you. So they're going to attack the T-34s. All right, so first of all, we're going to activate them. And that's going to cost 2 more initiative points. That's 2 more initiative points towards the Soviet side of things. And no, we can't. because he's got no line of sight. I don't know why I was ignoring that forest all this time. It was as if I couldn't see it. I think part of my mind was saying he was shooting over it, but they're not. Nope, those trees are too tall, so he can't shoot that. Who can he shoot? Would he want to? He actually has a better chance of hitting. I'm going to go ahead and activate this SDK. They're going to try and take this guy out. So that's 2 more initiative points. So now the Soviet player has 9 initiative points to spend on stuff when it comes back to them. Okay, so the pack is going to fire, pack 38. That's well within range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have a range of 7. So first things first, it's in range. They don't have to pivot or anything like that. So they're rolling 2 die 10. They're going to add 8 to whatever it is they're rolling. So that's 11 and 8. That's a 19. That's not good at all. All right, but they're starting with 11, and Woods on one of these charts is trees. Woods give 2 cover. All right, so they're at 13. I'm gonna have to roll really low in order for them to get a hit. 11 and 13, that's 24. So they easily shrug off the pack 38 attack. Okay. Now, somebody could return fire, but none of them. All right, so boom. Okay, then the SDK opens up. They've got a 7. And again, they don't have to pivot or anything, so they're just going to roll 2 die 10. Yeah, they have a range of 4, so this is in range. Well, that's a 13. Okay, that's better. That's a 20. That's 1 point more. Okay, so now the defender is already starting at 13. So again, they got to roll really low if they're going to get affected by this. Nope. So, no problem. All right, now it is on the Soviet side of things, so they're going to roll. And whatever they decide to do is going to cost a 5. Okay. They're in a good position again, I think, just to, advance. So we're going to advance. That's 5 initiative to advance. Now, here's my thought. Everybody can move 1. We don't want to advance into melee. We're just going to advance so we can just shoot into that hex. And be close range. So I'm going to move, let me switch over to this side of the field. Here's where I'm thinking of doing stuff. So right here, I have this SMG team. They're going to move, advance. They move 1 hex. So I don't have to worry about the little river there or anything. And what we're going to do is actually, okay, so first of all, let's flip the ones we're going to activate, because we have to determine who can do what first. Well, they can't move. They're pinned. Okay, so these 2. Now it's going to cost 1 extra initiative for each of them because they're at 1 commands. That's 2. And they're going to move up. So they sneak across and they move up to be with their buddy. So they're done. Now when you advance only that 1, you can't opportunity fire because they're like low crawling through the brush and stuff. So they are unaware. So they can only move 1, but they can't do anything else. Okay, that activation is done because I wanted to position it where we can start firing in here and really take them out. So their next activation is 6 points. So that would normally be an advance for them. Oh, you know what? Advance is 6. They rolled 5, so technically they could not advance. Oops. That was a cheat move. You know. Cheating. You make a oops. You misread your chart. You know, mistakes were made. I misread the chart. They rolled a 5. So they technically could not have done an advance. And advance is 6 points. So I tell you what, we'll say this was their advance now. So what would they have done previously? Well, they could have fired or assaulted or something like that, but I really botched that, huh, didn't I? Yes, I did. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give the Germans a pass on that, and I'm going to advance it, the 6, because I don't feel like rewinding. Like, I could retcon and go back, but that's a missed opportunity. I misread the little order matrix chart. I was assuming advance was a lot cheaper, and when I looked, I just misplaced my counter by a number. So what I'm going to do is, because I made a mistake, I'm going to give the Germans a little bit of a respite right there and say that they did their advance now. So that is one order segment that we fouled up. So I will give that to the Germans. And so now if the Germans want to do something, it's going to cost them 6. See, now he could advance. So I'm going to put that on the 6. So I'm going to swing that back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're just not hitting. I'm going to save this guy for return fire because they're about to get shot and he's going to do some return fire. What I am going to do is this time I'm going to have this unit here. I'm going to try the MG42 and have it shoot into this. But no, they're going to shoot here with the wounded people. And that's only one additional initiative because this is on the tactical side. And he has a much better firepower. He's got 11 versus, say, their 6 and their 7. So that's going to be 11. There's no hindrance in between. No chains of fire or anything like that. It's going to be 2 die 10. Because there is no hindrance intervening, if I roll a 1 on either of these, the shot misses. Good. 11. Okay, so 11 and 11 is 22. Okay, so again, still not a good attack total. 22 is pretty low, but that's a lot better than the 18s and 19s that I've been getting. Not much better. But they are getting 2 from the wood, so that's going to be 13 for them, 13 for them. Okay, so let's start here with this wounded guy. So he's already starting at a 13 plus 9. 13, 9 is 22. So he barely made it. He barely made the save. Same for this guy. He's starting at a 13 plus 16. Much better. That's like a 29. So none of them are hurt. Golly. Okay. Well, now, having done that, we can return fire with a unit, though. And remember, it doesn't have to be the unit that's shot at. Like, any one unit can return fire. This rifle group, they only have a range of 2. So their firepower would be dropped drastically. And they're only a range 2, and they're a range of 2. Nobody's within a good range. This guy is... But he's only got a firepower 10. Let's try it. But no, because his forward arc, I'm looking at this Su-85, thinking it could return some machine gun fire, but no, I would have to do a pivot, and then it would suffer dice reduction. So I think they won't return fire. We'll just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Now we're back onto the Soviet side of things. They're going to roll a 7. Okay, so a 7 would be an assault or advance or fire. So we're going to fire because now I've moved a couple units up adjacent, and I think this submachine gun unit is going to put some hurt on them. So we're going to move at 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That puts it on the 4 side of the German initiative tracker. And we're going to... I think we'll go ahead and activate them, him. No, we're going to try and keep some of that initiative to ourselves. So we're going to stay that there. Now he's within range of this command marker, 1, 2, so it's going to be 1 extra initiative. Because see, I would have had to pay 2 initiative for all of them to shoot. So that's one of the things. It's all thinking about where your command is in relation to your troops and remembering to move command with you. lots of little things to consider as far as the tactics of the game goes as you play, that as me just filming a YouTube video is not taking into consideration at all. Which, as I'm watching this unfold, I'm thinking, yeah, so many missed opportunities here. This is why face-to-face is best for these games. But here we go. So we're going to do it. This SMG unit says we're going to take them out, boss. So they are rolling 2 die 12 because they're adjacent, and they have a firepower of 14. That's the highest firepower out here. So their little PPSHs are going to just whittle those little wooden buildings down. 19. So that would be, what is that, 33? That's a very good roll. That's a fantastic roll. Yeah. Okay. So, with that in mind, this defender has to make a check. Now, because I dropped the entrenchments on top of the building, this building gives a 4 defense. I mentioned this in the other video, but I dropped entrenchments because I thought I could entrench these guys into the buildings better. But then when I was going back and reading some rules, I had missed the line that said they don't stack. So if you're dropped entrenchments, you're doing the entrenchment cover. The 6 in parentheses for entrenchments means that's a bonus against artillery. So if artillery was dropped on these buildings, they would be in better protection than the buildings. However, the entrenchment is 1 less defense than the building. So again, if I was going to go back and replay this as myself again, I would put the entrenchments on the vehicles I had in the open to put them in hull down, and then left the infantry in the buildings because that gave really good protection. But as it stands, yeah, I botched that. Okay, so we're going to take their defense of 12, plus 3 is 15. If I roll a 19 or a 20 on these 2 dice, we survive. Nope. So they get broke down. I don't have any grenadiers out here currently, so let's grab grenadiers. Yep, I got a couple here. Now, again, this could have been a decision on their last turn if I had them deploy. The reason I didn't have them deploy is because the firepower on a squad is only 10, whereas if they act as a platoon, it's a firepower of 15. So, I mean, I would still have 3 squads where 1 was pinned. Oh, maybe he hadn't taken a hit yet. No, he had a, what did he have? Oh, he had the shaken. So now that means I'm down to 2 squads with 1 shaken. Luckily, that shaken doesn't affect it. But now we're just down to 2 squads fighting for their life. And we could return fire, which is what we'll do. I wanted to keep that because I thought he could return fire more effectively. But, you know, they got hurt, so it won't be as effective. So we're going to have one of those squads return fire. Because it's point blank, they're going to add to the die roll. So it's 19, so 29. Which, oh hey, I've had worse. Now their defense, they get 2 defense because they're in the rough terrain, plus their 10, so that's starting out at 12. And 5. So that's 17. So that's a lot less. So finally, the German player hurt somebody. Finally got to hurt somebody. So let's go ahead and put a wound marker on the SMG team. But the SMG team did good. That's kind of exactly what we needed to do, is get up there and break that group down. So they are suppressed. They can't fire. That's fine. They did their job. And they did it well. Okay, we got 1 order cube left to roll for. So if this was left, a 1. Oh, which it's on the German side again. And that's playing asset, but we haven't bought any asset cards lately. So basically they're going to spend a point. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. They'll spend their 1 initiative point to do something, and then pass because they don't. All they have left is a reaction card. Okay, so let's call it here and kind of talk this out a little bit. So first of all, I'm going to say that the Soviets took this. Bad playing on my part, bad setup for the German player. I didn't really think it through. I hadn't played the scenario before. I just put stuff out. And would I set it up differently? I think, like I said, the only real difference I would do is make sure I put the entrenchments on the vehicles that were out in the open, because that's what entrenchments are for, and left the infantry in the buildings. They didn't need an entrenchment on top of the buildings. That's thing number one. Thing number two, otherwise, I would probably play it out just like that, because I think the Soviets did a good job of coming down like they were supposed to. I think a lot of the dice rolls, and this is where I know some people hate these kinds of games, is they say, well, there's just too much luck with the dice rolls. It doesn't count for all your good planning and defensive preparations if your dice rolls go against you. Yes, that's the nature of these games. That's why you play a scenario more than once. I would play the scenario again. Maybe if I had a face-to-face player, I'd switch sides this time and see how the dice rolls go. But the game is working as intended, and it works fine. What makes it work as a solo game? That's the thing that a lot of people come up with, because this order matrix thing, that is really a game in itself. See, what I did as a solo player was just to add an element of, basically, I'll call it fog of war for the supplies. In your normal face-to-face game, the setup says to seed this randomly, and then you randomly seed it each turn. So what does that mean? It means I would roll a die 10 and place a cube on each of those rolls. So this is what it looks like when you start the turn. So I, as a player, would decide, well, do I want to spend 10 so I can buy 3 asset cards? Because as you can see, I ended up with a couple cubes on the 1, which was to play an asset card. Well, as a German player, I took a couple of these 10s and did other actions like fire. Same thing when I did the Soviet. I would spend a 10 to do a fire. I should have maybe bought 3 asset cards. That way, on those times where I rolled a 1, I might have some cards that I could play. So as a solo game, it does make for a very interesting, it really is a fog of war, because I found that rolling a 1 and having no asset cards, that kind of sucked. I should have bought some asset cards when I had the opportunity. Now, if you're playing face-to-face, you can see that ahead of time, and you might go, oh, look, there's a couple 1s on here to play asset cards. I'm going to snag me a 10 and buy some asset cards before my opponent does. That way I can spend a 1 and play one of those asset cards, because you know that there's going to be at least 2 opportunities to play asset cards. So it's a very interesting. Now, if I was playing solo player and had this pre-seeded, I think that kind of gambling is spoiled, because I can see it for both sides, which is why I went with the reverse seeding of the order matrix. I had no idea what was coming up on the board, so it kind of creates a little bit of a fog, friction in how to do your planning and operations. So for the solo aspect, I think that's pretty fun. Otherwise, as a solo game, the game works just like any other game where you play both sides, and it works just fine. That's the only change that I would keep going forward as I continue to play this game solo. Otherwise, how did it turn out rules-wise? Well, I think I caught most rules. I made a couple, I'm sure I made a lot more mistakes, but I caught one mistake, like accidentally doing an advance when I had only rolled a 5. I didn't read the chart properly. I had it up there and I kind of glanced at it and I misread that. So that was a missed opportunity for play. But otherwise, I think the game, this one showcased a little bit of artillery. Artillery isn't that complicated. The only thing I didn't showcase was some melee, hand-to-hand. But it runs pretty similar, because you're going to have a melee table, and you're going to have a German table and a Soviet table where you look at the attacking unit, defending unit. You get your attack number in here that you roll against, and it's got some determine your melee dice, so it has, you start with your 2 die 10s, modify to see which dice you're rolling with, then roll on this chart to see if you hit. So it's similar to the artillery, nothing complicated, but it can be done. But I think this gave you a chance to see splitting of a platoon down, or what happens to an individual unit that gets destroyed. So yeah, I still think it's a really good game. I really like the idea of having platoons and squads mingle together. It gets you thinking more and understanding why it's important to kind of try and keep them moving as a platoon as long as possible. But once a unit suffers a hit, like for instance, like here, if it's the platoon, some units, it's not a huge difference in firepower. This, as a platoon, they have a firepower of 15. As an individual vehicle, it's a firepower of 12. But do you want, potentially 3 vehicles, so you make 3 attacks with them at 12, or make a singular attack at 15? As you can see, every point of firepower counts. It really does. You might not feel like it, but yeah, it's tough because they roll 2 die 10 on the defending side, and sometimes that's just really hard. They roll well. I guess it just comes down to how your dice rolls. But I don't know. I like this game. I like it a lot. I admit I like it better as a face-to-face game. But now that I've done the reverse seeding of the order matrix, I think it works just fine as a solo game. Yeah, I've never played it that way before. That's the first time I tried it, and that gave me some hard decisions to make. And I think that really added to the solo playability. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. That's just some thoughts and observations I have on the game, and this is how this scenario turned out. This turned out, I think if I continued on, it just would have been a total spanking of the remaining German forces that I had on the board. So historically, I think when we read the scenario briefing, I think historically this was a German win. They were able to hold on. Maybe. But this flank here was about to collapse. I only had a couple squads left, and I had a whole lot of platoon firepower coming on. They did have a couple squads here that were broken, but I had 2 strong platoons right here, and this one could have rallied. So if I had played a rally order, I possibly could have brought all these guys back. Possibly. Yeah, because of 10, 8, 12, they weren't that horribly hard to roll, those numbers. And then that would have been 4 platoons right here. 4 platoons that would have just pushed. So I think, plus that I had a platoon here, my Su-85s that could offer support, high explosive firepower, had a machine gun coming up. I mean, I'm just looking at the board here, and I've got, he was dead, but I had another platoon over here. Yeah, I think this is going to go the way of the Russian player, or the Soviets. So, yeah, we'll leave it at that. Hey, thank you all so much for watching. I would be happy to play this again. This probably won't be the very next thing that I play, but if you like it, I mean, I'll bring this out again some more. If there's something else you want to see, I think over the next couple days, because again, I'm kind of busy at work, I'm gonna put up some videos that I've recorded like last week, so you'll have a couple videos to watch, but they probably won't be a gameplay right away. Closer to the weekend, I'll probably put up another gameplay of something. I just don't know what yet. I did ask earlier if people wanted to see more, Band of Brothers, or if they wanted Fighting Formations, and I got someone who said, yeah, it's a tough choice. They're both good games. You're right. So I went with Fighting Formations because I thought that you would all like to see that. But I made some mistakes in the last Band of Brothers, so I think I might go back to Band of Brothers and play one more Screaming Eagle scenario and try to remember when you're doing that final, anyway, little things to remember. But, let me know if there's something you'd like to see, or something else. And if I've got it, cool, I'll play it. If I don't have it, I guess I won't play it. All right, but thanks for tuning in, and we will see you all later. Bye.